All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Authors Chat. This is the Author Panel for the second annual Virtual Fantasy Con. My name is Michelle Cohen Jordan, and I'm very excited to be here. This is part two. So if you're seeing this, please go back and look at part one, and then you can come back and join us. But where we left off, we have Sarah on tap. She was chatting with us about her process and, regarding her, one of the genres she writes in, which is erotica. And the question that was posed was, how does she get past some of the barriers that may affect other authors, that keeps them from writing in the genre. So I hope I explained that well. Sarah.
Well, I think maybe can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. One of the biggest things that I do is, I've read romances and eroticas for years, and I've also paid very close attention to what works for me as a reader. There are some things that I'm just like, oh, that's just, yeah, that's a little too graphic. You didn't need to go there. They use a lot of phrasing over and over, and you start to learn which phrases you really appreciate and which phrases just seem a little crass or gross or childish. So when I decided that, I was actually going to try this, I started looking more and more consciously at these things that I did and did not like. And then I sat down to actually write the stuff, and I went, this is weird. This is really weird. It is so weird. And so I just went, okay, I'm gonna do it. It's so weird. Oh my gosh. What am I doing? And then I had my husband read it, and he went, honey, go to bed. And I went, okay, it must have worked.
You're like, okay, it works.
So the thing I got from it was, you have to research, but also no matter what you do, it's gonna be weird.
It's weird at first.
So weird.
All right. And you said that there was and then we'll move on, but there was another that you were thinking of expanding to. So what catches your eye? Is it just like with all writing? You get an idea, you're like, oh, it's what if, like Michelle was saying, a what if scenario. Is that what pushes you?
Well, strangely enough, when I was in high school, I got my hands on a book that probably should never land in the hands of a high schooler. And it had a scene that was an extremely kinky pseudo-bestiality scene. And it was really weird to read it at that age, and it was really it's one of those things that has always just kind of stuck with me, and I've probably been just psychologically traumatized by it. It's one of those things that it's like, ew, but ew, and as a writer, that's not the kind of thing that you really steer away from so much as, how do I explore this? So
is that writer curiosity? Well, since we've gone there, this next question is going to be pie. I know that within the last couple of years, there's been, I'm going to say within the last year or so, there's been a very strong emphasis on diversity issue. And I'm not just speaking color or ethnicity, but, lesbian and or homosexual characters or those with disabilities or things like that. Do you believe that there is a lack of diversity in writing, or you think we're status quo? That's part one. Part two, do you incorporate that? I mean, how do you incorporate it? It may not even be a conscious choice, because I don't even know if I incorporate it, because when I'm writing, I don't have that in my head. I'm going to be honest. Oh, but they're going to look like this, and their skin tone is this. You write what you feel. So I know that's a little bit odd question, but it really has been a question on many, many panels that I've been involved in or seen, or so I thought I'll throw it out there. So
I guess I'll go ahead and take this one, because I actually have consciously thought about this, and I do consciously attempt to put disenfranchised persons into each and every single one of my books. I do think that they are extremely difficult to find. A lot of people, I've been extremely active online in terms of equality issues. So one of the things that really struck me was the idea that if you do not describe people who are of these disenfranchised groups as being different skin tones, as being, LBGT, as being, if you're not essentially in your face about these things, people do default to white male middle class. I mean, it just happens. Mm-hmm. And so with Too Wyrd, one of the interesting things was I kind of pulled my punches. She's the main character is a mixed race. She is pagan, but I did not describe her as being obviously mixed race. And what I found was when I did my book release, one of my trivia questions was, is she Northern European? And I very specifically mentioned that she has her mother is part black, her father is dark Italian, there's Romani blood in her. She looks very Mediterranean. She has very dark curly hair. And people answered the question that she was in fact Northern European because her paganism leans towards Norse paganism. And so I was really entranced by the fact that, even with the bits of description that I gave people and the details of those descriptions were completely lost to the overall feel of the character as being just a normal character and therefore white. And so that was interesting. Two of the characters in the book are LBGT. Again, it doesn't go too much into it, but because of the way that they interact, the way that they banter, it becomes a lot harder to forget that part. And so that I'm very proud of. I would like to explore the race issue again. In the Magus series, the first book, I'm actually making the main character's brother autistic. And so, exploring that concept. Wow. And the part that's going to be really difficult is I would like to do that without making it seem like, well, if you're autistic, of course you have magical powers. Wow. Because that's also doing a disservice to people with those issues. So, and it's something that I struggled with for years and years and years before I just decided to go for it, because I'm very obviously not a person of color. I'm not LBGT. I might be very, very borderline on the autism spectrum, but not enough that it makes any difference. So, there are all of these issues that I'm not really a part of. And I could very well take the easy route and say that, because I'm not a part of them, I don't have the right to write on them. But at the same time, I kind of feel like I have the obligation to include these characters, even if they're, and, one of the issues is that I probably will not make any of them my main characters. The main characters are going to be people that I can really, feel confident in bringing to life. So, they are going to end up being a lot more like me. So, yeah, but I also feel like, I can't write about, just white women because I'm a white woman. I can't write about, just people in straight relationships because, my friends are not all straight. That would disclude the interactions that I have with them. My characters, if they are true to my life, would interact with all of these other types of people. And I feel that it's my obligation to bring those people to life, even if it is as secondary characters.
Very cool, very cool. And it brings a depth, I believe, to the writing. Mm-hmm. Because it does reflect more so the real world and whatnot. So very, very cool. Michelle, or?
Oh, see, here's where I run into an issue because I don't plan. I am a complete pantser. If I try and make an outline, it just sits there and nothing happens. It's terrible. I learned that very early, thank God. So my characters tend to come to me fully formed. I start writing about them and it's like, okay, this is what you're like. So, I can't really say that I try to make a certain character a certain way. The characters just kind of tell me how they are. I've got a vampire who's, very dapper, very good looking, but he's got dreadlocks and, he's black. So I was like, okay, what would living thousands of years, because he's really old, do to the skin tone? So he's got this kind of ashen pallor over the dark skin tone. And that's pretty much all I touch on with the race is that, there's this kind of odd sort of dichotomy with the dreadlocks and the really, well-tailored suit and skin tones. That's it. I tend to not go into huge amounts of description as to what someone looks like. So if somebody, imagines a character is black, that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. With my Dragon series, I'm kind of dealing a little bit more with the idea of patriarchy versus matriarchy and, more the old system of class and those kinds of things. So I'm not there. But again, everything kind of happens as it goes. I don't plot, I don't plan. So everything kind of just happens organically for me. So I really don't make a lot of decisions as far as diversity is concerned. I wish I could. It'd be great, but it just doesn't work for me.
I will say that character you just described sounds a lot like Laurent in, yes, Twilight. I'm sorry. Everything.
I wrote him well before Twilight came out. Azrael, his name is Azrael. He popped into my head about, I want to say 9-10 years ago at least.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've been writing this book. I wrote that book for about 10 years before I realized it was right. So.
Wow, that is incredible. So I'm gonna have to read. Okay. I'm sorry. I just have that in my head. I love the book. Jamie and CP.
Basically, I kind of go with Michelle here in that I try and outline, I try and plan and make specific things happen and specific characters in specific ways. My characters stand up and say, no, because I tried. I had my outline. It was the first outline I ever did for my first Lightworker book. Partway through the book, a character stood up and said, "Hi, guess what? I'm evil." Oh, okay. Well, that just kind of changed most of the rest of the book. And then another one, I tried that whole thing where like you do the ending and then you write toward the ending. He read the ending, gave me a suggestion. I had to change the ending completely based on that, which changed the rest of things. So I do not put anything in there purposefully at all. I just sit down and I just write what happens. I have this new series, the past few books, I have had a few more diverse characters coming in. I think that's the telenovela influence. I'm like, I just like, these characters are just flowing out naturally after watching some of these. So, yeah, it's, so yeah, for me, it's just like totally just let the muse tell you what it is, let the characters tell you what they are. I don't try to plan anything. It's a mess if I do.
Yeah, the planning does not work. I can sit there. I'll have maybe 3 pages written out, or like just bullet point outlines of what I want to do, and by the second line, it's scrapped. Because I'll tend to just focus on those lines, and I'll miss like the meat of the story between those instances. Yeah. So I mean, I've known romance writers, because romance writers are really big on outlining that I've met, and I've met ones I actually know where Jake and Jill fall in love on page 82. Jill farts on page 94.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that much detail. I'm like, I just sit down and just write the book instead of the outline. For me, it'd be easier. Yeah. But it's like, for me, I mean, like, I see, if you just pop my head, everyone has their own vision of what we see, how we grew up at, where we grew up with, what friends we had. So for me, I just try to keep them really ambiguous. Whoever sees it, they do. I'll put a quick description in. I mean, and if they change it ahead, they change it ahead. I mean, I know every time I've heard a Stephen King description, I've never kept that same character in my head through the book. It's always shifted to what worked for me. Like a lot of times, like like the wise old man would always be this old white dude with like almost like a 3-foot long beard, hunchback. The older one would be like a like old frail like white black one from like Stephen King's The Stand, and then like just kind of sitting there. And so it's like it kind of sort of pops in my head, who I know, what I know. So I leave it open, let people decide what they want to. I do have some hidden gems in here and there that I found out thanks to J.K. Rowling in my Sword and Flame series, when she's saying how Albus Dumbledore was secretly gay. And I'm sitting there reading through the article like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'm like, wait a second, look at my Sword and Flame. I'm like, son of a bitch, I did the same thing. My muse is smarter than me. It's so like kind of vague that it can go either way. Okay, she's either here or she's not. So I'm like, okay. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't plan it. My muse did it. Made me look like a genius. Thank you. It's like, so I put things in. I do have a horror story I wrote back in 2012 for Nano with a man that had autism. It's kind of influenced from, I can't remember what was the movie? It was Samuel Jackson, Sandra Bullock, and Matthew McConaughey. In the South, a man's daughter was killed, and Samuel Jackson killed a murder. I can't think of the name of the movie.
Time to Kill.
That's it. Thank you. And it's kind of inspired by that. Man's daughter was raped and murdered by a couple of guys, but then he has as he gets older, he has like almost nervous breakdown. He ends up having severe autism, and while he's in the room, kind of sitting back his head against the padded wall, he actually projects an image of his daughter to whoever has irritated him. So she would appear at different spots, and people that would see her, he's like so frightened they would have an accident and die. Like those 2 guys would run into a tree with their car. Someone else actually cut their wrist when they're cutting vegetables because she just suddenly appear there.
Wow.
And that's really cool. Like that. I mean, for me, like I said, like for a lot of disabilities, like if you're in a wheelchair, I don't know what it's like to be in a wheelchair. So right, say a mystery with the heroine or hero being in a wheelchair. I don't know how in the world I would sit there and describe. Okay, they hurry from the second floor to the first floor. Yeah, for me, it's running down the stairs or going to the elevator. For someone in a wheelchair, okay, well, if it's no elevator, you're taking your life in your hands. Especially if there's no conveyance going down or you don't have a chair waiting down. So I'm like, for me, it's like kind of okay. I don't know how to do that. I don't know many people that have that instance. I mean, my dad did, but he was on the first floor. He never went on another floor. So I don't really know how they would deal with that. So I think a lot of it is just that self-ignorance where we just don't experience something like that, that magnitude. So it's more challenging to write. Now, if you have access to people that can do that, more power to them. And then they have access right there. They can talk to the people. How would you do this situation? How would you do that situation? And they put that in there. So I think it's a little mix of everything. So I try to keep it vague. Another things I just flat out don't know. I mean, and I ask people. A couple people kind of look at me like, "Are you stupid?" I'm like, "In this subject, yes, I am. That's why I'm asking you. I wouldn't be asking this. I didn't do this." It's like it's kind of shake their head. It's like, why would I do a thing like that? I'm like, well, imagination. What if you're innocent? What would you do? You're an effing idiot. I'm like, yes, we've established that. Now stop being a freaking, answer the question. So it's an interesting topic, like who you talk to and everything else. I mean, it's like it goes back to the whole research factor and what you're comfortable writing, what you can write.
That's where we're going to next. Awesome segue. Okay, guys, we're going into the research. how do you research your books? You know, I would think it would vary depending on the story. I know, Sarah, you do craft your stories and you make that effort with your characters. So I am curious, how do you get into the skins and into the mindset of characters that, you know, you may not be around or, you know much about? You know, everyone, you know, what is some of the strangest resources or things you've done or found out as far as your books? As a reader, I love this question because it really goes into the writer's mind of what they had to do to bring it together. So,
Well, you know, for writing characters, I think the most important part is to kind of immerse yourself into the lifestyle of the characters that you're writing. LBGT are actually really, really easy for me. I have been friends and involved with the rights of LBGT for 20 years. You know, I've met gay men who flame so much they could set your curtains on fire, and I also have met, you know, gay men who it's like, you're not gay. No, you're not gay. You're the straightest gay man I've ever met. I have met people who are genderqueer, who are androgynous. One of my favorites was when I was in college, I took a course called the Psychology of Sexual Diversity. And I sat down the first day next to a woman who was wearing a black leather pantsuit. And within 5 minutes, I found out that she was BDSM asexual. At which point I went, oh, tell me more. How does this work? And, you know, I found that pretty much anything you can imagine is somebody's reality. And people can tell when you're approaching something with honesty and respect versus, you know, making things into stereotypes. So, you know, intention speaks a lot for a lot of these issues. With autism, my son actually falls on the autism spectrum. I follow a lot of Facebook groups that discuss autism. One of the most interesting things that I've found is that some of the more prominent autism groups are actually hated by most people with autism. And because they just don't, they're not getting it. They're treating it like a disease, and people with autism do not believe that they have a disease. They have a difference. And, you know, so getting these little tidbits of information, it's a lot of it is just, you know, finding groups of people, and Facebook makes it so easy. I mean, you Google the thing and you find a group and you can follow them for a while, just reading all of their comments going, okay. I mean, you know, I think the hardest part is that a lot of people go into such groups with preconceived notions. And, you know, you really just have to go in and be like, I know nothing. The things, you know, the ground is solid for me. I have no idea if the ground is solid for these people. I cannot believe anything that I believe to be reality is true until they have verified it. And only then can I understand their worldview. I love that. And even then, you know, you're never really gonna get it, but, you know, you're gonna understand it a little bit more. I'm gonna quickly segue. The weirdest thing that I've ever researched is the effects of diet on brainwashing techniques. Okay. I know. I didn't even know it was a thing, but it was like there was this one line on an episode of Criminal Minds where they were talking about proteins and brainwashing, and I went, That's a thing. But it totally makes sense. Every single cult that you've ever heard of that brainwashes has very restrictive diets, usually vegetarian. There's a reason for that. So, yeah.
Cool. I like that. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes. Michelle?
So we've learned that vegetarians are trying to brainwash us. Very important. Sorry. Working with, paranormal and then complete fantasy, I don't have to research a lot, but sometimes I do research fun things. The weirdest question I've asked Google recently was, how long does it take a person to bleed out? And it generally goes, okay, how big is the person? Those kinds of things. Like, okay, well, I'm writing about vampires. Please don't come and find me at NSA. I find myself researching.
We're all on the list somewhere now, but
I know. We're being watched now. They're gonna
Probably.
come for us.
I figure by now they're just like, oh, it's just Sarah.
Don't worry about it.
I find myself right now, because I am writing the Dragon series, researching things like archery tournaments and, things like that, because it is a full fantasy world, sword fighting techniques. And then I'm like, okay, I can't really describe that, so I'm just going to fake it. I do have to say, probably one of the best things I've ever done as a writer, I did unconsciously when I was younger, and that was I took acting classes.
Really?
So I kind of approach my characters and my writing like an acting class at times. Like, my first drafts are completely and utterly dialogue heavy. I mean, maybe a little bit of, we're in this room, and then, dialogue. And it's because it's really important to understand your character's motivations and where your character is coming from. And a motivation can be as simple as, I want to get back to, point A. I'm at point Z, but I want to get back to point A. And as long as that's their driving motivation and it is a through line through the whole thing, you'll have a character that, has a clear motivation and something that works for the character. And it also helps with dialogue, because one of the things that I notice as a writer, because you always listen when you're out and about, is conversations as people have them. If we were to write those realistically, reviewers would kill us and readers would kill us. They'd be like, this makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. So, writing dialogue, doing the acting classes, it helps because you learn there's a rhythm and a flow and a back and forth. So that's kind of my advice to writers. Is part of your research, take an acting class. An improv class is probably the best.
That is cool. I think I heard that the author of The Hunger Games, she was a script writer, and that's how she approached that. And I think it was another author, one of these, like Blockbuster, and it was faster pace, or there was a different flow to it because it was more of a script. So very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. The dynamic duo. Oh, Jamie, I know. Jamie and her novellas has changed my life.
My
girl. She has my favorite character, rocking, just literally just sitting, huddled, rocking in a corner. And I question my own belief.
Literally, the character was like, yeah.
Literally, I'm not joking.
I've also got her questioning her sanity, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, that because I'm beta reading, so I'm kind of pretty far. And one of the I have a book. I can't even say it because it'll be a spoiler. A book crush, and he did something so heinous, and I was like, "Oh, he's hot," And I'm thinking, "What's wrong with me?" So, Jamie, defend yourself. You're researching, please.
I don't really do like a whole lot of research with books, because like a lot of my stuff is like, like Michelle was saying, it's like made up situations and worlds and things like that. So I mostly wing it. Occasionally, I do look up a few things here and there. When I had to write a particular scene in question, that freaked Michelle out a little. I actually watched a particular novella called Rosario Tijeras, which deals with like certain things that happen in that scene that I needed to get myself into that like space to be able to write about. So that's about the extent of my research most of the time.
The novellas.
Yeah, most of my stuff I make up, like the epic fantasy, kind of make up the worlds. So a lot of it I either know or I can incorporate. I have some of my horror stories. I have looked up some really messed up things.
Yeah.
One time we're in a coffee shop. I actually looked up what blowfish venom was the most potent, and how to stitch a jugular shut with a fish hook. And I was just looking out the window. I was waiting for Black Sedan to pull up. I'm like, I've got to go.
The shades, the men in black.
And she questions my sanity because I will sit there on YouTube and spend hours watching everything from cyst popping to replacement joints to that science videos. I watched a heart transplant, and it was so fascinating because they actually showed it in the bowl on the side. It was like white, and it was still beating without anything around it, not connecting anything. I was like, that is just so awesome. I tried to show it to her. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, all this stuff comes into play at some point. Like, okay, well, the heart's still beating, so they can't actually literally rip it out of someone's chest and still beating their hand. Okay, cool.
Oh,
so like, Indiana Jones, someone didn't lie about that. I'm like, that's pretty fascinating. And she, like I said, I have really weird voyeur thing on YouTube with that stuff. Like, I'll pull that stuff up, watch it. Just because at some point I know it'll come in handy. I already gave up on not being on a list. I know I'm probably about 1,000 lists somewhere.
They're coming.
They have a whole building dedicated to my search history. It just is what it is. Okay, you disembowel someone with the sword that is here, what's happening here, and I don't go into great detail with it, but I want to actually maybe have a splat sound, feel real. Like if someone has gets like a sword like through their chest like this, and they're sprayed with blood, I actually want to try to get that, okay, what kind of sound or what kind of feel would it give? So yeah, then comes YouTube, and then comes research, The FBI site is great for statistics if you're writing crime. So I go all over the place. So yeah, it's if it's out there, anything's free game for me. I'll grab it. I'll look at it. I'll be on the list somewhere. I turn around, I look out the window, like, okay, no black cars yet. Okay, we're still good.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Well, guys, I have truly enjoyed, and I'm sure the viewers as well enjoyed this chat today. And for those that are out there, you have just truly come inside the writer's mind. As we wrap up, can everyone please give a quick word of advice, just very briefly, to new writers? Also your contact information. Where can everyone you can either give a word of advice or something that you may want to say to the viewers, and where can they connect with you? Sarah.
Well, everything for me you can find on my website. It's kind of my base of operations. You can find my Facebook, my Twitter, everything through there, and that is authorgoddess.com. And as for advice, don't do it for the money. Do it because you love it. If you do it for the money, you're going to find yourself in a really bad place. It's not that we can't succeed. It's that, there's a certain number reality out there.
Yeah.
So don't do it for the money. Just consider the money a happy bonus.
It's gravy.
Yes. Icing on the cake.
All right. Michelle.
Well, anybody can find me at my website, and that's got all the information on Facebook, Twitter, all that fun stuff. That is michellerabe.com, MICHELLERABE. So there you go. As long as you can spell that, hopefully you'll get close. Advice. Don't let anyone tell you how to do it. friends with a lot of writers, and I think everybody has a completely different process. I also suggest finding beta readers because they do fun things like tell you, oh, by the way, the last third of your story, just chop it off.
Yeah.
I've had one beta reader do that twice now. She's like, the end didn't work for me. Just get rid of it. 30,000 words down the drain. I'm saving those words. They'll fit eventually.
Yeah, that's a novella.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, find beta readers and ones that aren't afraid to tell you, 10,000 words, just get rid of it. That's my advice.
Very cool. Jamie?
I have everything linked on my website, on my social newsletter, everything on jamielwhite.com, JAMIELWHITE. And advice, I guess, besides being honest and true to yourself, I would say, yeah, don't let don't let anyone tell you how to do it. And don't go in it for the money, please.
Please don't.
Be honest.
CP?
Yeah, everyone can find me on my website, CP Bialois, BIALOIS.wordpress.com. If for whatever reason the link doesn't work, just type my name into Google. I am the only one in existence. You'll get about 20 pages on me. That's my marketing genius. Only one of me in existence. And for advice, be true to yourself and your story. It's your world. It's your story. If you don't agree with the advice someone's given you, don't use it. Just stay true to it and take what works for you. Leave the rest.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you so much, each and every one of you, for just hanging out and chatting. It was awesome. I truly enjoyed it. And everyone that is listening or looking or viewing, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And we just hope that you're having an awesome time at the con. Make sure you jump into all the events, check out the different booths, check out the grades. The books, are you guys on particular days? Sarah, Jamie, CP, are you on certain days or?
I'm on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
All right. Michelle?
I'm on Sunday, the fantasy day, I'm on the paranormal day, and I'm on the series day. I think that's Wednesday and Thursday. Not 100% sure.
Jamie, CP, are you in the con or?
No.
Okay, so they can find you on your sites and connect with you there or social media. All right, guys, there you have it. So make sure you're having a great time. We hope that you are. And, support the con, support the authors, and, have an awesome, awesome week. It's going to be fun. It's epic, so enjoy yourself. All right, guys, bye-bye. Have a good one.